The Queen Consort didn't wait for approval. No press, no ceremony, just boarded a jet before dawn headed for America. But what she didn't expect was a royal guard standing in the control tower who'd read the manifest, seen what was hidden in her luggage, and knew exactly what was at stake. 30 minutes into the flight, with the plane already crossing the channel, his voice broke through the cockpit. Return to Windsor immediately. And for the first time in royal aviation history, a guard halted a Queen's flight midair and ordered it back. Now, before we show you what was really inside those diplomatic cases, make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on and drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Because what you're about to see isn't just about stopping a flight. It's about a guard who stood between power and history. Heathrow at 5:40 a.m. looked like every other pre-dawn departure. Quiet tarmac, amber runway lights cutting through mist, the kind of cold that settles into your shoulders and stays there. Rain had swept through hours earlier, leaving the concrete slick and reflective. Sergeant Rowan Aninsley watched from the observation deck, hands behind his back, water still dripping off the right side of his cap brim. 17 years with the Coldstream Guards, 2 tours in Helmand, now Royal Liaison to Aviation Security since late 2022. He didn't blink when the Gulfstream's first engine roared to life. 3 black Range Rovers sat near the auxiliary ramp, headlights dimmed. No press vans, no departure ceremony. According to the manifest, this was a humanitarian delegation to Washington led by Queen Camilla herself. 7 aides, 2 secretaries, 3 sealed trunks marked diplomatic support material. The justification was transatlantic goodwill tied to literacy charities personally approved by the king. Except the king was still recovering at Sandringham. No public brief had been issued. No royal household order logged in the aviation records. Rowan had reviewed every outbound clearance for the week. Camilla's flight had appeared last minute, approved through a diplomatic desk he didn't recognize. He reopened the digital manifest on his tablet. Page 4, Section C. Archival diplomatic cases exempted from inspection. Trunks bypassing screening entirely. Heritage privacy statute unused for over a decade. Certainly not after Raymill. He scrolled to the authorization signature. The override had come through at 11:47 p.m. the night before, late enough that most oversight officers would have been off duty. The approving officer was listed as DCS Provisional, a temporary diplomatic clearance desk that only activated during emergency royal movements. Rowan pulled up the Heritage Clearance Archive on a secondary screen. 3 similar exemptions in the past 18 months, all originating from the same provisional desk. 2 had been for Camilla's trips to France, 1 for a private visit to Scotland. None had been flagged at the time because they'd all returned to British soil within 72 hours. But this flight was scheduled for 10 days, and if those trunks made it to American soil under diplomatic immunity, the Crown's legal reach ended at the Atlantic. He tapped into the custodial alert system, the internal network Princess Anne had established after Raymill to flag any heritage item movement. The system should have triggered the moment those trunks were logged. It hadn't. Someone had manually suppressed the alert. Rowan's jaw tightened. This wasn't just unauthorized, it was deliberate. Below, the final Range Rover door opened. Camilla stepped out in a heavy gray coat and oversized scarf, sunglasses too dark for the hour. 1 aide held an umbrella. Another rolled her overnight case. She didn't pause, just climbed the aircraft stairs without a glance toward the tarmac. Rowan followed her movement without turning his head. His instincts stirred, not panic, just the cold signal that something was off. He'd stood post at Windsor long enough to know when duty called for questions instead of salutes. The last of the luggage disappeared into the jet's underbelly. Cargo door sealed. Engines began final spool. Ground crew withdrew. Rowan didn't move. Not until he understood what exactly was about to leave British soil under the Crown's name without the Crown's clearance. His boots echoed across the operations wing floor as he entered the restricted communications corridor. The air smelled faintly of jet fuel and ozone. Duty office, Windsor Command, secure line. he told the operator. His voice carried quiet authority. She keyed him through without questions. A click, then Windsor duty office. Sergeant Harper speaking. An Inslee here. Outbound manifest GS-442. Queen Consort's charter to Washington. I need confirmation of royal authorization. The pause stretched long enough for him to know the answer before Harper spoke. Sir, that flight doesn't appear on the household clearance ledger. The only active travel authorization is Sandringham to Balmoral cargo. Rowan's jaw tightened. Double-check the custodial index. Already did nothing under the consort's name. Another pause. Sergeant, Protocol 9 is still active. No royal artifact or archival cargo leaves British soil without dual counter-signature from the custodian's office and the collection trust. Through the glass wall, the Gulfstream's turbines spooled higher, vapor curling off the engines. Copy that. Hold line. He switched channels, requesting a runway delay through Heathrow Command. Report fuel pressure irregularity on aircraft GS-442. Routine technical verification. Require 15-minute hold. The controller hesitated. That's a diplomatic charter, Sergeant. Understood. Mark it as safety precaution. No pushback until inspection clearance confirmed. The request went through under security irregularity. 12 minutes, maybe less. Below, ground crew froze mid-signal. The stairway remained extended. An aide at the aircraft's base looked up, irritated. Phone pressed to his ear. Inside the jet, Camilla's personal secretary leaned toward her. Mom, operations is reporting a delay. Systems check. Camilla's reply was calm, clipped. Tell them to clear it. We're leaving now. Rowan watched Haratach relay the order to the cockpit. The pilots hesitated, but not for long. He scrolled down the encrypted contact list until he reached the line few guards had ever used. Acting custodian, Prince William. He pressed connect. The line picked up with a voice low and controlled. This is Windsor. Rowan drew a slow breath. Sir, it's Sergeant Ann Inslee. We have an outbound aircraft bearing unverified heritage cargo and no household clearance. The Queen Consort is on board. A pause, not confusion. Calculation. Maintain position. Do not obstruct physically, but that aircraft doesn't leave British jurisdiction. Understood. Understood, sir. He ended the call, eyes lifting to the window where the Gulf Stream's navigation lights pulsed against the dark horizon. The engines rose to full power. The only way to stop what was about to happen was to invoke a law written for treason, not travel. William didn't speak right away. When he finally answered, it was with the voice of someone who'd been preparing for this moment longer than anyone knew. What exactly are you seeing, Sergeant? Rowan stood at the operations balcony edge, overlooking the rain-slick hangar as the Gulfstream idled on the far taxiway. 3 sealed archival trunks marked diplomatic cargo exempt from inspection. No dual countersignatures, no collection trust verification, no authorization from royal operations. Destination Washington, D.C. Humanitarian pretext. Luggage logged for 10-day diplomatic presence. Another pause. And your position? Outside Hangar 6. Delayed takeoff, citing mechanical irregularity. Bought us 12 minutes. We're down to 5. Static flickered. Then William's voice returned colder. She knew what she was doing. Rowan didn't answer. Maintain visual. Do not physically obstruct her movement. If the aircraft clears British airspace, you're authorized to invoke Ordnance 7. Rowan felt his stomach shift. That protocol hadn't been touched in 20 years, not since the Diana Commission drafted emergency overrides for air-based custodial transfers, intended for worst-case scenarios, defection, sabotage, interception of Crown property by foreign agents. Not for a Queen Consort. Sir, just to confirm, you heard me. William's voice was steel. Now, if she crosses the coast without proper clearance, you activate the ordnance. And Rowan, yes, sir. Once it's active, you don't stand down. Not until that aircraft is back under Crown jurisdiction. Rowan straightened instinctively, hand tightening around the communications desk edge. Understood. Good. Then softer. Thank you. The line disconnected below the stairway had already been pulled. Crew signaled final clearance. The engine surged. A tremor ran through the hangar floor. Rowan reached for his encrypted tablet, opened the Crown Link clearance relay, and typed the words no Coldstream Guard had used since the 1990s. Asset in motion. Verification pending. Ordnance 7 active. Then he pressed send and watched as a Royal aircraft, unauthorized, unverified, began gathering speed toward a sky it no longer had permission to enter. The wheels left the tarmac at Zulu 618 Zulu. The Queen Consort's jet sliced into the morning sky, sleek white hull illuminated by runway spill and the faint blush of sun breaching the horizon inside Heathrow's encrypted radar grid. GS-442 triggered a ripple. Rowan's activation of ordnance. Siren had silently refall. A yellow bar appeared next to its code on the Crown Net overlay. Invisible to civilian controllers, visible only to military and custodial airspace coordinators. Asset in motion. Heritage classification unverified. Containment recommended. Rowan stepped into the Aviation Command vestibule and flashed his wristband through the secure ID lock. 2 flight supervisors looked up. Alert. I need a chopper to North All. Immediate lift. Clearance code Aegis 3P, sir. The supervisor's hand hovered over the desk. Military interception. I won't repeat myself. Orders spread through the headset network within minutes. A Royal security helicopter had been prepped. Turbine whine cutting through the hangar air as Rowan strapped-in headset clamped tight. He looked down at the ground log tablet. Camilla's departure record scrolled silently across the screen. Departure, Heathrow 0618 Zulu. Destination, Dulles International. Status, diplomatic charter. Cargo notation 3X archival. Diplomatic cases exempt. Override. Consort staff unverified. Rowan pulled up the Legacy Wing inventory on his tablet, cross-referencing the trunk classifications he'd glimpsed in the manifest. LW3D Series Category D items, the highest custodial tier below the crown jewels themselves. He scrolled through the vault registry. 12 items currently listed under that classification. Personal correspondence from Cold War summits, ceremonial gifts from Commonwealth nations that carried diplomatic weight, the kind of artifacts whose removal could create international incidents if their absence was discovered. And then he saw it. Item LW3D23A, Gambia pendant, last recorded inspection 14 months ago. Vault 2F status secured. His breath caught. He'd been present during that inspection. Princess Anne had opened the case herself, examined the sapphire brooch, and made a point of reading aloud from Queen Elizabeth's handwritten note attached to the registry. This remains with the institution, not with any individual, regardless of rank. At the time, Rowan hadn't understood why she'd emphasized those words so deliberately. Now he did. Anne had known. Maybe not the specifics, but she'd known someone was testing boundaries. He tapped into the comlink, syncing with flight coordination. Northolt intercept asset already airborne, shadowing GS-442 over the channel, holding its safe visual range. Advise them to maintain unarmed shadow pattern. Crown jurisdiction only. Copy that, Sergeant. The helicopter banked east, sweeping low across London's skeletal skyline, chasing the transatlantic path Camilla's jet had carved minutes earlier. He wasn't chasing a flight. He was intercepting a principal. At 12,000 feet above the English Channel, GS-442 leveled into cruising altitude, engines humming smooth as the jet pressed eastward. The cockpit was too quiet. Captain Hughes, veteran RAF pilot turned Royal carrier, stared at the radar overlay with furrowed brows. "We've got a tail," his co-pilot murmured. Hughes leaned closer. A secondary aircraft signature had appeared off their 6, maintaining visual range. Altitude matched without requesting clearance, not hostile. Deliberate identification C-19 military shadow call sign matches Northolt intercept pattern. Hughes tapped his comms. Control confirm shadow aircraft designation trailing GS-442. The answer wasn't immediate when it arrived. It wasn't from civilian airspace control. It came through the encrypted Crown Net band, breaking through with one cold sentence. "This is Sergeant Rowan Annesley acting under Crown Ordnance 7. You are ordered to return to Windsor Airfield immediately for verification. The words hung in the cockpit like frost. In the cabin, Camilla's attaché, Oliver Grant, pushed into the aisle, phone already pressed to his ear. He moved toward the cockpit bulkhead, voice low and tight. "We've just been flagged. Some procedural nonsense. Tell them to drop it." Camilla didn't look up from her seat. "What kind of nonsense?" Grant exhaled sharply. "They're citing Ordnance 7. Her head turned slowly. "They wouldn't dare." Hughes toggled open the override band. "Confirming receipt. Ordnance 7 is typically reserved for airborne threat protocol. You're invoking it over custodial clearance." Rowan's voice came through again, calm but unwavering. "Correct. The outbound cargo contains unverified archival materials. Departure was not authorized under Royal Heritage clearance. You are carrying state-flagged property without oversight. Return to Windsor Airfield immediately." Behind Hughes, the co-pilot leaned back. "He's not bluffing. This code's real. Crown authority, activated under emergency heritage lockdown statutes. If we ignore it, we lose immunity the moment we hit foreign airspace." Hughes turned his head slowly. A shadow aircraft matched their path. Grant crackled. "Continue as scheduled." Hughes refused. With Ordnance 7 flagged, the flight plan was radioactive. He stepped into the aisle. "Ma'am, Crown Net orders. Return to Windsor under Ordnance 7. Camilla didn't turn. "By whose authority?" "Prince William." Authenticated Grant pushed back. Hughes didn't blink. Violating Ordnance 7 would forfeit protection and spark a crisis. Static cleared to Rowan Annesley, helmet off in the helicopter bay. "Your Majesty," he said. She asked if he understood the gravity. "Completely. You invoked a protocol for traitors. I triggered it on behavior, not title." She warned he'd lose his career. "I guard the crown, not the people who wear it." At Windsor Air Command, William arrived. "Patch me to the cockpit." He ordered the jet carrying unauthorized archival cargo to return. "Understood," Hughes replied, banking west as dawn lit the channel. Windsor Airfield was quiet. No press, no insignia. Rowan waited with heritage officers as GS-442 stopped. William met Camilla on the tarmac. "This was not a misunderstanding," he said. "It was an unauthorized departure during a custodial hold." She turned for the terminal without answering. Rowan boarded for inspection. 3 matte black trunks bore legacy wing markings requiring dual custody. Inside, sealed velvet folders. A diplomatic communique archive from 1987 restricted to the monarch, and the Gambia sapphire brooch, last recorded in Vault 2F. Another case held Cold War letters, a third, heirloom sketches, and a vault log showing repeated after-hours entries by a liaison officer. Systematic removal, not oversight. Rowan sealed everything under emergency repatriation. William ordered immediate transfer to the Royal Collection Trust, access suspended pending review. On the misted runway, William told Rowan, "You'll never get credit." Rowan answered,